Quiet Coyote. Can we flash the Quiet Coyote sign out in the hall? That'd be great. Thanks, guys. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody that's in attendance here in person or on Zoom or on YouTube. I say thank you for being with us tonight. This is our regular board meeting, and we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone please rise and join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll have our roll call attendant. Madam Clerk.
Director May. Director Kelly.
Here.
Director Kingman. President Levesque.
Here.
Director Knapp.
Here.
Student Advisor Levon. Here. Student Advisor Nichols.
Here.
Superintendent Sweetie.
Here. Thank you. Next, we'll have our approval of the regular meeting agenda. Would anyone like to change anything on the agenda? Or do we have a motion to adopt it as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the regular meeting agenda.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
President Levesque.
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Next, we have our approval of our minutes from the last regular meeting from October 9th. Do we have a motion to approve it as presented or any changes?
I'll make a motion, we approve the regular meeting minutes from October 9th.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular meeting minutes from October 9th. Madam Clerk.
Director Kelly.
Aye.
President Levesque.
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye.
All right. And the next thing on our agenda is our public comment portion of our meeting. And I have received some people's forms and they would like to speak tonight. So I'm going to read a script so that we all understand how this is going to work tonight. And if anybody still hasn't signed up and would like to speak tonight, it's not too late. You just fill out a form and then turn it into the basket and we'll get to. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of involving members of the public in its meetings. The board appreciates feedback in order to make the best decisions possible to benefit students. In order to permit fair and orderly expression of public comment, the board will provide a period of time at the beginning of each regular meeting, during which visitors may address the board on any topic within the scope of the board's responsibility. Anyone addressing the board tonight, whether it be in person or virtually, has completed a public comment form and read and agreed to the district's instructions for public comment prior to this meeting being called to order. When the board president calls your name, please step up to the podium if attending in person. If attending virtually, please join as a panelist, allow video, and unmute your microphone. Please refrain from comments that are an invasion of privacy, violate school district policy related to harassment, intimidation, bullying, or discrimination, are disruptive, irrelevant, libelous, slanderous, or profane. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes. The board does not respond to questions during the business meeting in order to comply with the State of Washington Open Public Meetings Act. The board's silence does not signal agreement or endorsement of the speaker's remarks. Depending on the nature of your topic or questions, the superintendent may ask staff to contact you to answer questions or provide information. The board president may interrupt or terminate an individual statement if it is uncivil or exceeds the allowed time. Each speaker will be given 1 opportunity to speak. So I think we're all in agreement. We're gonna do this one at a time. Our first speaker tonight is Nancy Johnson, and she has asked for a little extra time. So we're gonna.
Can I bring all my people in?
Absolutely.
Okay, everybody come on in. All of my. Right, go ahead and fill up this area. Come on in, everybody, come on in. Come on, Judy, come on, Bob. Come on in. Yes, who are in here to stand with me and we're all identified. Is there more coming in? Yeah. Okay. Hi, thank you for letting us come and speak to you tonight. My name is Nancy Johnson and I'm the president for the PSC union and I represent 316 classified staff. I'm not sure how many we have here, but we have a good representation. So thank you for letting us be here. I ask that you look at how each classified member impacts this district and our community. We all know that you need each one of these staff members to run Arlington School District, and without us, the system would fail. It is time the board takes stand and supports your lowest paid staff and recognizes the hard work and dedication of these individuals. I am shocked to hear the board of directors has been voting to increase the pay of our highest paid staff, knowing there is a budget crisis. It is our sincerest belief that leaders lead by example. Therefore, we stand in our dedication and decision to continue to fight for a livable wage. If there is $350,000 for 31 of the highest paid staff, there is money for the 316 lowest paid individuals. You let staff go last year, you allowed this increase. Our country is an epidemic, perpetuating the American top percent in wages. It seems that the leaders of this district have decided to also follow its example and continue to place its highest rewards on the already highest paid. The smallest percent of money goes to the hardest workers, yet those that are not even working with the students and families get the most money. You say you are in this for education and students, yet how many programs have been cut or on hold? How behind is the curriculum because we must put our money to the highest paid staff? Somehow you and the 30 administrators feel their work is more valuable than 316 souls. There are a total of 711 employees in this district. 87% of the $94 million budget accounts for these wages, yet only 17% goes towards 316 classified employees. How is it that you justify under half of your entire staff, just under half of your entire staff, take up only 17% of this $94 million budget? Your classified staff are the foundation of this district. I can promise you that this district will crumble without us. We need to be valued. We are just as important as any other staff member, yet we are not treated with the same equality. The majority of classified staff live in and support Arlington with their taxes, and they are your constituents. The cost of inflation has gone up upwards of 19.57% since the 2019, per our Bureau of Labor Statistics since 2019. Your classified staff are struggling. The cost of food, gas, rent, living expenses costs the classified staff the same amount of money as it does the highest paid staff. But who do you think is feeling the greatest impact? Required insurance has doubled. Who do you think is feeling this? Administration and select staff get $1,200 a year in VIVA, yet classified staff get $480. We have classified staff that live out of their cars, garages, and couch surf to make ends meet. They are on food stamps and go to the food bank, yet the highest paid keep getting money added to their pockets at the expense of the hardworking individuals that deal with the students and the parents daily. When is this going to stop? Your classified staff are standing strong and we are unified. We have taken less and less each year for the good of this district, but no more. I have been told that the teachers are concerned we are going to walk, and many have reached out saying they cannot, they will not do this without us. I am told by many that they support our decisions to fight and stand with us. And if it's our direction to choose to go, they will go with us. And as you can see, there are many teachers that are standing with us tonight. Many individuals feel the board is only given a pretty painted picture and not the whole truth. We ask that you make Arlington classified staff a priority and look into the truth within our budget. We are in a silent depression and we need you to be the change. The district is up over $1 million in enrollment, And some are saying potentially up to $3 million for the project, above the projected budget. Yet the district chooses to continue to deny a livable wage to their classified staff. Bottom line is, we have staff that have made this their career for over 2 decades. Yet they make less in 1 year than the amount you voted in for a raise for your highest paid individuals in a 12-month time frame. You have chosen to give more and more to the highest paid and the least to the lowest paid. It is time this board evaluates how the money is being spent and are held accountable for their decisions. The board has made a huge financial investment into their administration, and it is time that you invest into your classified staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you all for coming tonight and sharing. Next up, it looks like maybe Rosalind Stone.
Oh.
If Rosalind could come up, right?
Oh.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Rosalind Bain. Been here, this May will be 20 years. I've been a bus driver throughout my entire career with Arlington School District. Though I have been here 20 years, I still struggle to get a 40-hour work week. Those of us in bus driving and transportation, if we're striving for a 40-hour work week, we're gonna have to put in 12 hours a day to get an 8-hour day. Because the way our shift is split, I do realize that that is our choice to become bus drivers. But let's face it, somebody's got to choose to do it. My last paycheck was $2,998. I have children. I am a single parent. I'd like to compare checks or trade with one of you all at any point in time. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for telling your story. Next up, we have Hillary McWhite.
I am Hillary McGuire. I really don't have a lot to say. I've been a paraeducator full-time, this is my 3rd year. Last year was tough. We're still coming back from the pandemic, and social emotional is tough, and everybody's learning how to be students again. So then we had all of these people laid off. We have decreased counseling services, decreased food services, decreased paraeducators, and all of the same expectations are there. And it's really frustrating to try to do my job and then go to my other job, like I said last time, because most of us have to have a second job, especially if we don't have second income in the home. So it's really something to keep in mind. And I hope those negotiating will think of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Hillary. Next, we have Dave McGrath.
Hi, my name is Dave McGrath. I'm a service-connected disabled veteran and the father of a special needs son. My son attended life skills at Pioneer and now goes to Post. And for the last 2 years, I worked in the assist program at President's. I've recently switched over to bus driving because I cannot make ends meet at all. My last paycheck was $1,700. It's not possible. I mean, they just upped me to what, $60 in food stamps? Doesn't help enough. If it wasn't for having a business on the side, which is really slow right now as well, I wouldn't be able to live at all. I'm leaving bus driving in probably 2 or 3 years because I'm in college trying to get my degree. So I'm sad to say I'm going to be leaving classified staff, but if you want to keep people in the jobs they love, I love being a paraeducator, but I cannot do it anymore because I want to live. I don't want to have to go to the food bank every month. I get paid on the 30th and I'm negative by the 5th every month. Right now, my bank account is $500 negative. And when I get paid, 500 is gone. The rest goes to rent, and I just have to figure it out. I'm sick of going to the pawn shop to make gas to get to work. Please just pay us a living wage so you can keep good people in the jobs they love. They don't have to leave or go to school to leave the classified staff just to be able to get an apartment or a house. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for coming and being brave. Next up is Britt Kleinman. It's not scary, it's fun. Come on up.
Well, do you want, can I ask if any other classified staff want to speak with this before, because we're done, but
I'm not speaking as staff.
she's not
Speaking as a community
She's
member
speaking as
tonight.
something different.
Wearing a different color. Okay, anybody else would like to speak and have not spoken yet? We welcome all feedback. I see one hand. Oh, I do have one name after Britt. Hang on. Nova. Nova, thank you for coming tonight.
My name is Nova and my mom works as what I call an aide. And she comes home and she works, and she still works really hard. And I would really like if she would more.
Thank you, Nova. Very well said. Thank you for coming tonight and speaking up. Does anybody else want to speak up about their classified? Okay, Brett.
We can step out. Thanks, everybody, for, we'll let them continue without them being disruptive. So, we can all head back outside. Thank you. Thanks, Nova.
Great, they're all welcome to stay. It's really fun.
Thank you for the offer, but I have to get up at 3:15 in the morning.
You're a bus driver too, aren't you?
No,
You're the. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good evening, Board of Directors, Dr. Sweetie, and fellow guests. My name is Brett Kleinman. I have had the privilege of wearing many hats within the school district, including a parent, now a staff member, an advisory council chair, a member of many committees.
You
and-
love just a second. Can we pause the clock for just a second? Does anybody mind shutting the door so we can hear inside here?
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No worries. Okay, so good evening, directors, Dr. Sweeting and fellow guests. My name is Brett Kleinman. I've had the privilege of wearing many hats within this school district over the years. I'm a parent. I'm most recently a staff member. I've served as your advisory council chair, a committee member, and many more. In the last 8 years, the district, in this district as a parent and in my various roles, I've seen some amazing highs for Arlington Public Schools, but also some difficult times. For example, the budget cuts that we faced this year. Tonight, I want to ask you to strongly consider the state of the district and our buildings, specifically post-middle school. Equity and equality are key topics that we talk about here regularly. Equality means a state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. I'm going to say that last word one more time, opportunities. Have you visited neighboring districts' facilities recently? As a society, we have made a major shift in valuing our STEAM and CTE educational opportunities, starting younger and younger with our students. At Post, we currently are very lucky to have the bare necessities physically to educate our students, but not much more. Our facility is outdated, falling down around us, and far past a quick fix or Band-Aids.
constant leaks in the ceiling if it rains too hard. We have areas that flood, and our HVAC system is just one more issue away from being unrepairable, and I could keep going. Do you know what else Post has though? Community. A community of students, staff, and parents that continue to amaze me daily. Post has some truly amazing staff, some of which you met tonight, that are truly dedicated to educating tomorrow's leaders. Our students. Our students are bright and they are worthy of better facilities and equality in their educational opportunities. Tonight, Board of Directors, I ask you to please vote yes on the bond measure that's being presented to you to submit that to ballot for February, because our staff and our students are worth those equal opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Britt, for coming tonight and speaking up. Your voice is valuable. Is there anyone else who has not spoken that would like the opportunity tonight? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak up tonight? Then this concludes the public comment portion of our meeting tonight. The next portion of our meeting is our consent agenda. The consent agenda tonight includes our budget and enrollment reports, our personnel report, warrants, a gridiron booster donation to Arlington High School football team, a CTE Perkins 2-year grant application, an overnight trip for the AHS cross country to state championships, an overnight field trip to AHS DECA to Bellevue, and instructional materials and programs committee members for 23-24. Is there anything anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to approve it?
I could make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Madam Clerk.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Natter. Aye.
Thank you. The next section of our meeting is our new business portion of our meeting. And the first thing on that agenda is our Highway 530 site sale update. And we would like to welcome Brian Lewis to come on down
Where are you, Brian?
to give us an update on the Highway 530 site sale. Welcome, Brian.
Hello.
Thank you for being with us tonight.
Oh, I've been with you. Please. Okay. What has become an annual ritual, providing an update to you regarding the sale of the Highway 530 site. In 2019, we struck a purchase and sale agreement with Miles Sand and Gravel to sell 168 acres on Highway 530 east of the Still-Gloucester. It's about 2.5 miles away from the city of Parkland. The selling price we negotiated was $3 million. And they secured that sale with a payment of $75,000 in escrow, which will apply to the purchase price and becomes property of the district if the purchaser defaults. Another aspect of the sale was that we allowed the buyer to have a 6-year period to complete application for 2 permits. One was a conditional use permit from Snohomish County, and one was from a surface mine reclamation permit from the state of Washington Department of Natural Resources. The value in the property lies in the minerals on the property, which consist of primarily gravel that meets a federal Department of Transportation standard for quality. So it can be used in construction of interstate highways, which is a very high use for that kind of material. So we agreed to allow them this time to pursue permits, but there were conditions that we applied to that as well. So the first 33 months after this purchase and sale agreement was made comes to them at no additional cost. And annual periods following, which was November 30th, 2022 and November 30th, 2023 this year, there were permit period extensions. And with each permit period extension of a year, they were required to deposit another $75,000 as earnest money in each one of those periods. So we're up to $225,000 in deposits that the buyers made because they recently completed another deposit into escrow of $75,000. So at any time, the buyer can choose to waive the final permit period option, which begins in 2024, and complete the sale, or they could walk away from it as well. At that point, the earnest money becomes ours, but they still have one more period after this year, which begins in November 30th, 2024. This one will cost them $100,000, and that may be refundable if they cannot obtain permits. If we default in our responsibilities, which are really only allowing them to continue to submit permit period extensions, then we would have to pay up to $400,000 in direct costs for them that they expended in the process of acquiring these permits. So if they had consultant time or their own internal time, up to $400,000, then they could request reimbursement for that. We're not at this point planning on doing that. So the permit, their first permit was withdrawn first permit application was withdrawn in January of 2023. And they subsequently filed the second permit, in which they looked at the first permit application process as a learning process for them, because Snohomish County has standards that they needed to meet. They chose, instead of trying to fix their first permit application, they withdrew it and submitted a second permit application. So that's where we are right now, as far as the sale of this property. Do you have to answer any questions?
We're
Yes.
just still waiting.
Sorry,
We're just waiting still. That's what
That's
we're
right.
doing.
2 more years.
Do our student advisors have any questions? Do you guys know about this?
Can't say that I do all too well.
So can you give a little tiny synopsis of where this property came from and what?
Sure. The district purchased the property in 1997 with the intent of placing a new Arlington High School. After multiple attempts to pass a bond to do that, the tactic changed. A new location was found, and that's the current location of Arlington High School at Crown Ridge. And the plan to build a new high school at that site was abandoned. At the same time, the state adopted the Growth Management Act, and the Growth Management Act defines what kinds of facilities that are public facilities, or even public development, or not public development, residential development or industrial development can occur outside of the boundaries of the urban growth area. And the Highway 530 site is well outside of Arlington's urban growth area. So it could house an elementary school, but that elementary school would have to be approved via a conditional use permit process, which Snohomish County has not been allowing for facilities outside of the urban growth area. And the district would also have to build its own sewage treatment facility at the site. And that sewage treatment facility would have to have capacity way in excess of the need for an elementary school, and could not offset that by selling access to the sewage treatment facility from to other landowners. So it's basically an economic non-starter to build an elementary school at that site. Well, that's back 2019, the board made a decision to move forward with the sale.
And it's currently on the way to Darrington, and there's some cows living on it. We might have passed it and not even known it was there.
Yeah, there's, we have a lease with a farmer who pastures cows there and they grow hay as well.
Any more questions? Any thoughts?
Gonna go back to the cows real quick. What happens if I'm hearing this correctly, that land that the cows are currently on, if we build on that land, where do the cows and?
Those cows don't live there, they're just
Okay.
pastured there,
Okay,
so they're only there part-time.
got it.
They have to let their-
Right, we all do. That's part of this process.
It's a part-time job.
Yeah. Perfect. Happy to know.
That's right.
All right, any other questions? No. All right, thank you, Brian, for the update. We look forward to some progress someday.
2 years.
2 years.
That's right, they got time.
All right, next up on our new business portion of our meeting is our assessment update for our Snohomish County state comparison. We'd like to bring Carrie Henderson-Burke, our Executive Director of Teaching and Learning.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I left my cheat notes over here.
We'll never know.
Just look at it with the notes from the side. So the data that we're going to look at tonight is state testing data, aspect testing data. We're going to look at it in a way that we haven't actually looked at in a couple of years, and that is comparing where Arlington falls last year's spring testing with other districts across the county. So as we scroll our way through this, let's just talk a little bit about the information. There are a couple of ways to look at and think about this data. The first is obviously Arlington is highlighted in yellow and the state is in blue. So one of the ways that we understand our state testing performance data is how do we compare with the state, right? That's the biggest testing group that we have to compare ourselves with. So above and below the state, obviously above is what we're looking for. But as you're looking at above and below the state, it's important to know that the scale and the right-hand side of each of those is not constant. So yes, woohoo, yellow above blue is a good thing, but the numbers are also an important way to understand the data. I also want to keep in mind that kids are more than test scores. We're talking about full-fledged human beings here, and test scores measures a narrow component of our system, much more so than kids. And so this data is really important in terms of learning where we as a system can get better. The other thing that I want to draw attention to is the dates, right? It starts in 2018 and 2019, and then we have those 2 COVID years where state testing didn't happen at all because school was closed. And then it happened twice in the same year, and it wasn't great data. It wasn't reliable. And so those 2 years are missing, but now we have that symmetrical view where we have 2 years with typical testing data. And so that's a little bit about the way the graphs are set up. So just bearing that in mind, we'll get started with ELA and math, and there's science data rolled in here as well. So there's that. So you can see overall, in my brain, 3 data points is a trend. We don't have 3 data points post-COVID yet. So I think that's really important for us to keep in mind as well. What we're looking for is growth more than trend data from this. But so this is 3rd grade ELA. Last year, 48% of kids reached proficiency or above, which was up from the year before. Math, you can see significant drops after COVID. This is not a huge surprise because when there's school significantly impacted, we don't expect kids to achieve at the same rate. And we also know there's time in catching up. But again, we're looking for growth. So a 4% increase between the 2 years post-COVID. ELA, same spot on the graph, but still shows some growth.
So that's great. And again, we're above the state once again. They're pretty close, really. The scores aren't very far apart if you're looking at the state, but this is a lot of data, so please stop me if I'm talking too fast or ask questions along the way.
Sorry,
Yes.
just for my old lady eye. Make it bigger.
That better?
That's better. That's better. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Fifth grade ELA, again, we're, looks like a lower spot on the graph, but there is definitely growth there, which we're excited about. Remember, one of the unique times about COVID testing was that our math scores actually outstripped our ELA scores, which is extremely atypical. We're seeing kind of that reversal back again. Our ELA scores are typically higher than math. Here's fifth grade math. Last board meeting on October 9th, I presented Title II professional development money. This is where you're going to start to see the why behind the elementary focus on our on math, essentially, because there's sobering math data to look at here. So a 5% growth from one year to the next is not bad, but it's still only at 35%, which is unacceptable. Science is, for the longest time, has been a bright spot in our testing data. So comparatively speaking, we still want the percentages to go up. But when you look across the county, you can see a history of a higher achievement in this area. And yes,
And the state number is that the average of every fifth grader or science? Okay, thank you.
yeah. thank
Okay,
you.
so it's just the average.
Yeah, so some exciting growth here in science, most definitely in fifth grade. Sixth grade ELA. Pretty good history of scoring above the state previous to last year. And so when we're looking at our sixth graders, some of the work that elementaries are leading around the science of reading, ensuring that kids can decode, that we emphasize decoding vocabulary, word parts before we get to an overemphasis on comprehension. We can emphasize comprehension all we want, but if kids can't decode the words, they're not going to comprehend. So
Okay, that was a really big drop.
yes, 10%.
Can we look at the fifth grade ELA from 2022? Can you go back a slide? The two,
There we go.
okay. They were low too. Thank you. Sorry.
We actually, because there's so much testing data and it can be so overwhelming, we did break this into two. You're stuck with another data presentation the next time we get together, but it will include that cohort data, so we'll be able to see easily. Yes. Let's see, we left off on sixth grade ELA. And sixth grade math, again, in middle school math, it's not the first time middle school math has been a significant concern, but when you look at 2018, when we were still not great, but close to 50% and a drop down to 30.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, we have to sort of fix that downstream problem, right? The elementary plans upstairs tonight referenced work with Graham Fletcher, who works with developmentally appropriate numeracy in K2 and an understanding of fractions in 3-5. We've got years of research that says if kids can't do fractions, they're not going to pass algebra when they get to be ninth graders, and there are gaps in their understanding when they get to middle school. So in conversation with the principals, we're about midway through Graham Fletcher's fraction instruction. And it's really getting to the point conceptually where we're finding weaknesses in the way we were taught fractions, which is ours is not to wonder why, but to invert and multiply, right? Just do it, it works, just trust us. There's no conceptual development behind that. And so we're finding our staff is saying, I need to watch that again. I need to talk about this for a little bit in order to make sense of it, because I can't teach it until I myself understand it. And so that's certainly part of what we're witnessing here.
I just want to share on that, on dovetailing on that a bit. I've been reading that the teachers in the teachers' colleges are even being taught differently. So we need to find this was an Ed Week last week, and we have to come to consensus on what is the best instruction, and then have everyone at the table going out into the schools and teaching Same.
And Graham Fletcher, who has been a kind of a math guru, particularly for elementary for a long time, talks about 3 equally emphasized components of math instruction. Conceptual, obviously, that's where we believe Arlington's lack lies. And there is procedural. Kids need to understand procedures because they're efficient, right? Mathematicians are nothing if not efficient, right? So procedure matters, and it tends to indicate fluency. When kids have conceptual development and they can get to comfort with procedures because they're fluent, and we're proud of that. But the other part is that application piece. So for the last 5 years or so, we've been working on math as it appears in the real world, which is not in a workbook. Not that workbooks are bad, they're valuable tools. We just can't say this is the only part of the math instruction. And we also say no math in this world appears in the form of a question from the get-go. So we're working on having kids look at scenarios and generating their own questions and understanding how math can be a useful, wait for it, life skill that they will apply outside of school and outside of workbooks. So 6th grade math, 7th grade ELA, again, largely the same as we were the year before, but down significantly from pre-COVID. 7th grade math. All I can say is EAP, and you'll say EAP again when you see 8th grade math. Nice growth in ELA back in the top 3, which is really a tremendous celebration. We're getting there. 8th grade ELA, when we think about last year, which was nothing less than nauseating, but potentially more than nauseating. It's only slightly like nausea with Rolaids, I think, would be how I would describe it. But one of the things that's interesting about 8th grade math is look at what it was before COVID. So we've known there's a significant problem when kids get to 8th grade. Some of that has simply to do with the fact that the sheer number of standards that 8th graders cover is significantly more than the 2 previous grade levels. I couple that with some kids moving into algebra. It's clunky. Yes.
Can I ask, where, I don't know if it does relate, but where do like the advanced math classes tie into that? Do we have I'm just trying to think, because I know when I was in middle school way back when, the classes were full. Do we still
Advanced
have,
classes are full,
yeah,
yeah.
do we still have full classes like now?
It is very dependent. We don't always have the same number of advanced classes that are offered at the middle school level. We also have a difference, for a myriad of reasons, a difference between Howler and Post. So Howler still offers advanced. Post has sort of the all kids. There was some work we did as a district a couple of years ago with a math researcher named Jo Bowler, and she talked about all kids get grade level math, all kids work together. Math has a range of access points called low floor or high ceiling, so that all kids can contribute, particularly when you're working on conceptual instruction instead of procedural. And so Post hasn't offered advanced classes. There is advanced instruction available in the context of a math class. The middle school math team worked pretty extensively. Pretend you're not hearing this because we'll be coming to you later, but to align that more fully so that kids do have similar and, for lack of a better word, obviously similar opportunities at the 2 middle schools. That being said, there will be some years when we have more advanced classes. There may be some years when we don't have advanced classes. What we want to do is offer the students attending those schools choice in the opportunity. Historically speaking, our opportunities are based on teacher recommendation largely. It's not the only factor, but we want kids to say, I'm actually kind of interested in that, and I'd like to put some effort into it and see what happens. So we're calling that, again, I'm surprised when we get to this presentation, but we're calling it on ramps and off ramps. So kids can on ramp onto an advanced math course, or if it's struggling, if it's, we do not want students to cry. So if it's significantly stressful or outside of the skill range, then we'd like to offer an off ramp as well. So that's kind of in Yes,
And Carrie, this data also includes like SBLC and
this is
what,
all districts. Yep.
all district.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Every student who took the.
And if you have like an eighth grader, because I know Micah said that we took some eighth, they were in eighth grade, but then they were taking high school math. So I don't know how the testing works for that. I guess if you're,
They still participate in grade level testing. So if you're an eighth grade geometry student,
yeah,
you take the eighth grade.
so we would hope that would help our scores. Yeah, okay. I'd be interested to see how that's changed, how that has evolved over time for us. Like since we've been offered that, and I know that's been more recent, I'd be curious to see how that's adjusted our scores. Right?
It would be.
It just.
Okay. Moving on to high school. Or no, I lied, sorry, eighth grade science. Again, a bright spot. We still need progress, but nobody in our county had more than 50% of kids. So it's there. I mean, as good data always does, this generates in some ways more questions than answers, but it's a wondering with science across our county at least. 10th grade ELA. I said kids are more than testing data, but they grow past third grade also, right? And so this data, though it appears static, is not. It's connected to moving, growing, and learning children. 10th grade math, back down in the serious concern range. And you can see before COVID, that was the case as well. So there's some work to be done here. The high school math teams have latched onto universal design for learning. As a whole department, right? Sometimes implementation is uneven. It's not an exact science, and there's buy-in that has to be built and understanding. But the math department at both Weston and AHS is sort of kamikaze. We're doing this thing. It's pretty cool.
Pretty interesting to see that like nobody is
Yeah,
over 40%.
right.
This,
Uh-huh.
you know, last spring's data, but even 2022.
Yep.
So is there like inner district, I'm sure, conversations? Yeah.
Yes. 10th graders missed large part this year's, well, last year's 10th graders essentially had significantly impacted 7.8.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just as like project-based learning, you know, Judy was our big fan of that. And that to me feels like that's very much a real world application of math and engagement and buy-in. And why am I learning this? I think that question popped into my head most of my high school years.
Right. So
You know, question, I don't understand why I'm learning this. That's relevant. So I just, you know, to me on a state level with OSPI, and that's something to always think about with curriculum. You know, we're not, this is, the trend you're showing us is not woo-hoo, you know, and it's not like Erica saying not even just our district, but I just want to make sure that we're able to demonstrate learning. And if we're defining it in one area, if we change that definition, what that could look like, maybe results. I'm not saying to skew the data, right? But have the children demonstrate it. I have children show me whiteboards, and that's fine because them writing something on a piece of paper might not give me the same, right? But I know learning.
Sometimes, like there's an inherent danger in looking at only one source of data at a time, because we also have STAR and iReady data, which are, you know, more responsive just by virtue of greater frequency, and opportunity to re-instruct or advance after the assessments are over. SBAC is one point in time. There are a lot of strengths to it, but demonstrating it in alternate ways is not an option. On SBAC testing.
Yeah.
So it makes our principals kind of want to bang their heads up against the wall, and I can only imagine what the kids think. But,
Do our student advisors have any thoughts about math? This is your grade. At 32.8 and Mariska, 30.2. Any thoughts?
It's kind of concerning thinking about how 7 out of 10 kids in my class weren't proficient in math. And I
as
don't-
measured by the SBAC.
Yeah,
as measured by
Yes,
the
right. And it's that sophisticated data users, right? We have to look at it in single ways and at times because there's so much of it. But yes, as measured by the SBAC, which is largely performance based, albeit not not with options and how to present it. It is intended to be an application kind of approach to math, since that's why we learned it, to use it,
And this is a graduation requirement
depending on your.
on one of your options.
And it's interesting. That's one of the factors that we're working on understanding better is state testing is a requirement for everybody, but it's not a pathway for everybody. So what influence did that have on potential results? We don't have, it's one of our questions without an answer at this point in time. And then 11th grade science, which is again,
Wow.
historically a high spot. We're still above the state, but not moving in the right direction, according to SBAC. So I want to juxtapose this data with the last slide, which we're going to have to flip a little bit because this is our free and reduced lunch count. So flip your scale, right? Lower numbers at the top, bigger numbers at the bottom. So we are above the state line across the board, but what we've done is grow in the percentage of free and reduced lunch students that we serve, which is a privilege. These are all our kids, but it is an indication of something for us to keep in mind post COVID. We are a district that is lower in free and reduced lunch count than many of our neighbors, but it is still a factor in what happens, particularly with high stakes testing. That's why we don't make grades dependent on high stakes state testing, because it's not responsive and it doesn't allow for exchange or relationship or choice or voice or those kinds of things. Interesting to see the growth over. So the next data presentation, like I said, will include a more typical look, how we've looked at state testing data. Well, always probably, but it'll just be in smaller chunks. And we included grade level data, but also that cohort data, so we can see impact.
I'm just wondering, I'm guessing we've had testing for ever. And I'm wondering, what does the state do with those numbers?
Well, it depends on what legislation is in, but if you've heard of the Office of School and System Improvement, based on free and reduced lunch count, based on testing data, we do have grants that are awarded. The states worked really hard to make supports for schools based on testing data instead of punishing schools based on test data. And so we do have several schools in our district that qualify for an OSSI grant that is to be used according to, well, Andrea talked upstairs about some of the federal race categories that we report in. So it's to be used to directly support those groups, those student groups that may show a need for greater support. So
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so bringing more equity, and if you need more, you get more, kind of. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
So essentially, using the data, I mean, the data is helpful in that way to get supports. So
yes,
Which is,
it's hard to look at, some
that's
of it's uncomfortable. I'm glad that the grants are there.
It's been really good. We had fewer, it's a bit of a catch-22. We had 5 schools identified in the first round of OSSI grants. And now every school is somewhere across the state. Now every school is on, it's a spectrum kind of approach too. But only 3 of our schools receive funding anymore, which is good news. It means individual building data has moved in the direction that we want it to, but it kind of hurts when you've used, our elementaries use it for EL supports in the form of a summer camp. And that was the only funding source for that.
Yeah,
So
you kinda get
it was a hard summer for our elementaries.
Yeah, that was my question when looking at this is, how is it split up by school also? So that's good to know. And then they use this free and reduced, because some schools are qualifying for all students having.
Yeah, there are tiered supports depending on the makeup of the school, what areas, what student groups might be succeeding, what might be struggling. For a reduced lunch count, title is where title dollars come from, and so that can that can be a good thing for school funding.
It does affect our lunches too for some of the schools.
Yeah, because some schools get, all students get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Based on that percentage.
Yeah.
And it changes next year. We will have more, the percentage goes over from 40% to 30%.
Oh, wow.
More will qualify,
Okay.
I think.
Any further questions for Carrie? Thank you for that in-depth analysis of all those great numbers. Go math. Next, we'd like to welcome Gina Zutenhorst, our Executive Director of Financial Services, to bring to us Resolution 2312, renewal of expiring educational programs and operations, EP&O levy.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be here and presenting to you on resolution 2312. This resolution, if adopted by the board, would authorize an election in February 2024 to renew the district's expiring educational programs and operations levy, the EP&O. Calendar year 2024 is the last year of collection of the district's current 4-year general fund EP&O levy. And the renewal levy, if approved by the board and the requisite number of voters, would allow collection over another 4-year period from 2025 to 2028. The levy funds are necessary to permit the district to continue to meet the educational needs of its students and pay expenses of educational programs and operations, support not funded by the state of Washington, including but not limited to instructional services and support, facility maintenance, technology, special education, extracurricular activities, and other educational programs and operation expenses. So in the taxes that would be proposed for the voters would be, and it's listed within the first paragraph on the page of the resolution, but also deeper in where it also will show an estimated tax rate that would go along with each fiscal year, calendar year levy collection. So it's in the range of for the 13 to 14 million dollars in each of the years. So 13.460 in 2025. And as you can see in the paragraph listed. So we've been talking about this over the past few board meetings, hearing presentations, looking at the scenarios and looking at fund balance alongside of the scenario of this levy. And I think that's all I have for you today. So, and we have three are we going to do
To renew.
here, the other two before we move on, or how are we doing that? Sorry.
Right, so this is our action item. We're gonna do one at a time.
Okay.
So do we need further discussion or questions answered, or do we have a motion to adopt resolution 2312, renewal of expiring educational programs and operations levy as presented?
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2312, which is the renewal of expiring educational programs and operational levy.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution 2312, renewal of expiring educational programs and operations levy as presented. Madam Clerk.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
President Levesque,
Aye.
Director Knapp.
Aye. Thank you. Next up is another resolution. This one is 2313, the renewal of expiring capital levy for health, safety, infrastructure, and facility improvements. Welcome back, Brian.
Hello. Who's driving the,
There it goes, it's up there.
could you let me do my, show my screen? Thank you. Okay. Good evening, directors. For a few months now, we've been talking about the renewal of the capital levy that the district has in place right now. The current capital levy expires and at the end of calendar year 2024, it was approved by voters. In February 2020, we began collections in January of 2021 to fund a wide range of improvements across the district. As I said, that current levy expires in 2024. Our final projects funded by that levy are going to be putting a new roof on President's Elementary and Pioneer Elementary School and repainting those buildings as well. Just as a reminder, the district's capital program goals are extending the useful life of existing buildings and facilities as appropriate, promote and protect health, safety, and security, improve efficiency and utilities and staffing utilization, and provide adequate functional capacity that supports student achievement in a fiscally responsible manner. All of these goals informed the Facilities Advisory Committee recommendation to the superintendent to seek funding for a new capital levy in 2024 to 2024 election. Initially, we presented you with 3 options. Through discussions, we've eliminated one of those options and narrowed it down to 2. Option 1 is the most comprehensive list of projects that would be funded in the amount of $26.3 million, collected in approximately equal amounts over a 4-year period from 2025 to 2028 at an estimated tax rate of 70 cents per thousand of assessed property valuation. The projects are described in an attachment to the board plate titled CPF Levy 2024 Option 1. The vast majority of these projects are related to one of 2 things: putting a new roof on buildings like Arlington High School and Howler Middle School, and repairing paving across the district. These are the largest dollar items. There are some very important items that are also included in that levy that affect the day-to-day well-being of our students, including placing new equipment in the kitchen at President's Elementary, which serves as our central kitchen for the elementary schools in the district. Repairing the paving at Howler Middle School, which if it's got potholes throughout, it's not finished in many areas, but it is a remnant of the movement to Arlington High School back in 2003, as Arlington High School was placed on that site. Replacing cooling equipment, air conditioning equipment at Kent Prairie Elementary and Eagle Creek Elementary, our 2 oldest elementary school buildings. Those are very difficult pieces of equipment to maintain because they're so old, and they're also difficult pieces of equipment to access. So there may be some additional construction on the building just to get into the spaces where the cooling equipment is located. Another big project on the list is rebuilding the floor in the gyms at Arlington High School. The gyms are the gym floors have I think perpetual may be the best one to describe it, moisture issue, and there's a lot of moisture retained inside of the building, and that causes the flooring to swell and buckle. This is a very important area for both educating our students and for extracurricular activities that occur after school as well. So those are the largest dollar item type projects that are on the list. Option 2, what I'm showing you right now is what would appear on a ballot that a voter would be viewing. This is option 1, option 2, which is the lower range of cost. This is option 2, which is the higher range of cost. The language in the ballots are functionally the same. The difference between the higher cost option and the lower cost option is paving throughout the district. So one of the big paving projects that's included in option 1 is also important to the operation of the district, and that's the yard at the transportation center. There is a continual problem with drainage at the site. It's due to the ancient stormwater management system that's there that predates World War II. It is a site that needs work to help maintain a safe working climate for our bus drivers as they move about in the dark during the school year. So those are the differences between the 2 options. The option 2, the lower range, would cost 53 cents per thousand assessed valuation over a 4-year period, same as as the higher range, over a 4-year period for option 1 at 77 cents per thousand.
Brian, I have a question about the high school. So if the recommendation is to, I'm guessing, replace the flooring, what are we doing in the future to help? Is this just a natural order that we can expect that after so many years that there will be moisture? Or is there something inherent in the design that we can do to prevent that much moisture having that impact?
That,
Okay,
yeah, we would also, while we had the flooring removed from the facility, we would create a ventilation and a more robust ventilation system.
Gotcha. a little more life on it. Good. Thank you.
One thing that I noticed between option 1 and option 2 as well was the ADA ramps at Eagle Creek and SBLC. They were not on option 2. They were on option 1. Do I have that correct?
Yes, option
Okay.
2, it does not have the modifications to the ADA.
Right, so they're not. It said to make them
ADA
code compliant,
Yeah.
so we don't have them. And we would continue on.
There are some ramps available at the, and this is sidewalks we're talking about.
Okay.
And there are some ramps there. It's just the angle on it is very steep in comparison to what the ADA code.
That just feels like a very important aspect.
And since we're on the topic of ramps, both options include a lot of work at SBLC, including roofing on portables. There's 5 portables that need to be re-roofed, but even, also as important as the roof is the ramp systems that are there. They're constructed of wood. And we would replace, in both of these options, we would replace the ramp systems with aluminum ramps. One item that's also on both options, the facility students use, there's a toilet room on the site, and that facility needs a lot of work. There's some concern that the floor may be failing inside of that toilet room. It's also not big enough, doesn't meet ADA code. So, and it's difficult to access as well. So, but those are included in both options. I do want to thank our maintenance crew for the time they spent with us in compiling this list of facility needs. And I've said it in the past that this only meets a portion of what our needs are. Once this levy, if it is approved by the voters, is completed, then we would start tackling another round of improvements across the district.
Brian, are you gonna pull up the other attachments that were included in the board packet and have the list of all the different projects? For
Yeah.
each one?
Which one would you like to see?
The big. one,
Option
The
one.
more comprehensive one.
Yeah,
That was one.
so this is Arlington High School. I'm gonna try and make that.
And can you explain
large.
why some things are bold and
Sorry, what?
can you also explain why some things are bolded?
I did not bold those.
I thought there was some kind of thing there
No,
that
there's
meant
no,
something.
no meaning associated with
All
that.
right.
I was trying to
Good
figure that
eyes.
out.
My-
Blind mama eyes over there. Can see the bowl. Good job, Mary. Good job.
I see it's bold. I'm like, are these more important?
Yeah.
Are they?
No,
Okay, that's good. Yeah, there's a lot of detail. Yep. Gutters.
So this is the high school.
so I can move on to the next building when you're ready.
Mhm.
Yep.
These are not presented in any kind of preferential order either. So I think it's alphabetical or, yeah, it's alphabetical.
And Brian, we're not, is there anything on the levy for Weston?
Yes,
Really? I don't know.
there's Eagle Creek. Floors and
Lots of
feeling
flooring,
board,
yeah, lots of
are
flooring.
included as well. A replacement of intercom, which is vital for emergency communications. The system that's in there is working, but it's difficult to acquire replacement parts.
I don't realize how much an intercom costs. Just little thing.
I don't know the locks in the high school. The attention, those are so expensive.
This is Haller.
That's not a big list. And Brian, is this up, we would have to wait till the levy is approved and then you go out to bid, or do you kind of people in the wings that you like have lined up? Like how soon could we actually take action on some of these things?
Well, it's really going to be driven by the availability of tax money that we collect.
Right, but that, and you told us last time, I think you said if we approve something, then how long before we actually get the money?
So there's part the tax collections are primarily focused in April and October of
Okay.
each year.
Okay.
So if voters approve the levy in February of 24, we would not begin collections until April of 25.
Oh, that far ahead,
October.
not even October of 24.
No,
Okay,
That we finished that year, we collect through that year.
yeah, we're still collecting on the previous levy.
true, yeah, we're going to 2020, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah. Okay, because it's, you would have an overlap, yeah, makes sense. Okay, that's just important, yeah. Everything goes up.
So it's gonna be a little bit different as far as timing goes.
Brian, can I ask another question?
Yes,
Can you go back up to Cat Prairie? And it says something about removing trees,
yes,
where are the trees?
throughout the parking lot.
Okay, so
The roots
by
are
the
causing,
street.
they're erupting out of the pavement. Very sad.
But we would
Yeah.
plant new happy trees with like root barriers or something?
Trees that would not do that, because there are trees that the roots grow in a different way so that they don't cause that kind of distortion on the paving surface.
Thank you.
Pioneer's a little different, the concrete that was used for the curbing around the site. It's not lasting in the way that we would want it to. It needs to be replaced, it's crumbling. If you walk around the site, you'll see it pretty clearly.
And where is the retaining wall that is on that list? Is it at the play fields?
Yeah, between the play field and
And the
the
school.
play, between the field and the playground,
Is it just a lot of moisture drainage?
there's a lot of water there. That field is very flat.
Mhm.
So there will be some drainage work we would do associated with this as well.
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
For the Arlington High School, it says fiber home runs on the very bottom. It says fiber home runs. What are?
So, there's.
So this is a math question.
Yeah, I'll try to explain it as best I can, but the fiber and fiber optic cable within the building. It doesn't exist. It's all. What I would call legacy cable, like Cat5 cable, doesn't have the same kind of capacity as fiber does. So by adding these fiber home runs, which is from IDF is an intermediate distribution facility. I think that's what it means. And then the MDF is the main distribution facility. So the network needs all, especially one as large as one that's in Arlington High School, needs to have these different stages of communication capability. And so the IDF runs, it carries data to the MDF, which goes out to the rest of the world, or takes in the information from the rest of the world. That is my really poorly expressed understanding.
But it's like getting smaller to larger and then it condenses, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like telecommunications.
It's like a copper pipe providing water.
Yeah.
You know, where it enters the building, it's really big, but
Yeah.
as it goes to the rooms, it gets smaller, more narrow.
Yep, same thing.
Thanks for that help.
Oh, sure.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Go ahead and back down here. Yes. Residents, this is where we would evaluate the equipment that's in the building, our kitchen, and replace it. And you'll see that there's fiber home runs in almost every building. This technology has lagged us.
Brian,
Yes.
about replacing the kitchen at President. How would that happen? Because that kitchen is in use so much. Would it be able to be done over a small period over the summer?
Yes. In the 2.5 months we have, the building's not operating. There would be staging that would have to occur beforehand, like we did with the boilers at
Mhm.
Kent Prairie and Pioneer, where we would order the equipment well in advance, make sure it was on site and ready to install as soon as the failed piece of equipment was removed. Here's the SVLC slide, and it is the same, you know, both options. And it's pretty extensive.
Part of, there's like a big gravel area where people park too. Does this include paving that area, or is that part of a different plan?
At Eagle Creek. Let's not call out that space, that gravel space. This would be incumbent upon us as project managers to get good bids on the rest of the project.
Okay. So we could pay to put some parking spots.
Yeah.
I mean, if the guys are there right next door with their trucks and everything, could they just accidentally drop some pavement right on the way?
Yeah, it's really-
Accident,
Truckloads.
it's flat.
I didn't know what the rules were because it's close to the power lines and.
Yeah, we can do that kind of work there.
Okay.
And when, with the portables that we just installed, the dirt work guys, that's the guys that do the site work. They did do some additional grading, and they had some gravel that was remaining from the project, and we spread it over that parking lot. So it is much better than it was. It's really interesting because the area looks much bigger than it did before construction, which is crazy, because we have additional buildings there.
Yeah, it is. It was a second perspective.
Yeah. Any questions about SVLC?
No.
Transportation, this is the stormwater management system and paving that I referred to earlier.
You said we own that property, right?
We do not own that property, we lease it,
And it's on us to
Yeah.
fix the drainage.
yes.
We had to put in so much, contract requires to put so much amount of money in.
And that's same thing with Western. It's like, that's where you get that point of like,
This is, so, when I think about, the transportation center, it's industrially zoned property. And it's very difficult to acquire a replacement for that in this area.
Yeah.
Right now. It's some hot stuff, industrial property. So I do believe it's worth the investment. I don't believe that we're gonna be able to find a replacement for it over the next 20 years.
there's a lot of residential that would be.
What's that?
We have a lot of residential in Arlington, and you need that at a certain location to be
Yeah.
accessing the school, so.
Yeah, and you can't, I mean, it's gonna be difficult for us to acquire residential property and convert it to an industrial type use.
Yes. I'm sure that has a different sale price than a residential piece of property.
Yes, but I would say it's 4 or 5 times as much.
Yeah.
In cost.
Gotcha.
And then here's Weston High School. So there is an investment there as well. We are working on a process called educational specifications for Weston High School. That's part of the recommendation that we made to look at SVLC and Weston's facilities. But that's not gonna, result in any kind of change in the near future. This, the value of this additional expenditure of the site would be realized. Yes, Mary.
Can you explain at the bottom that 12% escalation?
Yeah, so part of it is the timing of when we would receive funds. We would it would take 4 years for us to receive all the funds. And during that time period, some projects, we won't get to some projects until the end of the 4-year period.
Mhm.
And those projects will cost more than we think they'll cost now. So this is planning, the actual legislation will probably be closer to 20%, but some of the projects we'll get to do earlier. In the beginning of the levy cycle, so they won't cost the same as they would later in the levy cycle. So we've got some cushion contingency built in to help us deal with the extra costs at the end of the levy cycle period. In the levy that we have right now, we were able to borrow a non-voted debt borrowing because we had sold timber on our timberlands to pay the interest on the non-voted borrowing. And we cannot use tax money that we collect to pay interest on non-voted borrowing. That's why it's a little bit different in terms of when we can do projects.
And we're out of timber, right?
We are not going to have timber available to support that kind of model for another 5 years.
I grew up in 5 more years. Okay.
So really, we were very lucky that we have that available to us. Okay. Anybody else?
Any other questions or comments? We have to decide on which option.
And put forward to the
And this would
voters.
be great for our student advisors to weigh in. Because you're gonna be taxpayers real soon.
Yeah, you might be like living here. Think about it.
I remember I thought about that. So option 1 is
The comprehensive one, 70 cents on 1,000.
26 million. And a lot of different things. And option 2 is 17.9 million. It's almost 18, almost 18.
And factor in that the projects you're not doing in option 2 will still need to be done and it will be at a higher price.
Correct.
And you can't start those projects until this levy expires.
Right. So if our student advisors had to vote and had the option to vote, which one would they choose?
No pressure.
I would choose option.
I would choose option 1, because the way I'm seeing it. 76 cents, 77
cents, yeah.
cents to get to that 26 million sounds a lot better than the 50 cents to get to the 19.
I think it's, in comparison to everything else, it's out of that most important, so we provide like safe equipment for students to even have an education. Hold on to an extra 20 cents in my pocket.
You could be great taxpayers. Right, so does anybody want to make a motion? Because that's how we do things.
I make a motion on which one to support. I make a motion, we support option 1 for the renewal of the expiring capital levy for health, safety, and infrastructure facility improvements.
We'll second. It's been moved and seconded to choose option 1 for 26.3 million for our renewal of our capital levy. Madam Clerk? Director Kelly?
Aye.
President Levesque? Aye. Director Dale? Aye. Aye. Looks like we're going with option 1. So the next part would be adopting the resolution. If I understand this process correctly. And this would be resolution 2313, correct?
It's only just the
We chose option 1.
Jennifer Bond.
It's the same.
It's the same number,
Yeah,
It's the same motion.
same motion.
You just chose number 1 and then the resolution.
So we're done with that. So we can move to the next part of the fun event of tonight. We get to talk about post-middle school.
Okay. So again, tonight we're bringing to you a resolution to take a bond question to voters in February of 2024 to rebuild post middle school. The rebuild would occur on the same campus, not on the same space that post middle school currently occupies. It would go in an area that's currently occupied by a hill that would be removed. That hill is man-made. It was made when the post middle school was constructed in 1981. The new school would be built on on that area, in that area. Kids could still go to school in the existing post-middle school while the new school was being constructed. In addition to the new school, there would be a shared bus loop that would also be constructed, and a new lane to reach that bus loop at the intersection of Fifth Street and the lane that goes into the campus. And the intent there is to remove bus traffic from car traffic as soon as possible when it enters the campus, so that there would be less of an opportunity for the traffic safety hazard to occur between buses and private vehicles or service vehicles. So in addition to the approach lane, the new bus loop, and the new school building, there would also be a new field constructed with a track to replace the existing track. And you have likely been on that track and seen the condition it's in. It's got potholes throughout it. It's definitely a candidate for replacement. The track is a community asset. I see people walking there all the time, reading members. It's also a classroom where our PE classes occur, and it's also an opportunity to build a team amongst our middle school students who participate in track and cross country type of events. So it is vital to that community. This construction of a new post-middle school is not just about building post-middle school. It's about providing opportunities for post-middle school kids in the same way that we provide opportunities for Howard Middle School kids. And this flows down to Kent Prairie and Eagle Creek Elementary as those students progress through the grades and go into post-middle school. So it basically affects half of our district in terms of the student population. The last time we brought a resolution to the board for an election to build a new post-middle school was in 2020. Actually, we brought the resolution in October 2019 for the February 2020 ballot. The request at that time was $71.5 million. And I got that resolution here. So our estimate for the rate per thousand at that time was 98 cents per thousand for $71.5 million. This resolution for $95 million, our estimated tax rate is 62 cents per thousand in the first 4 years, and then 77 cents per thousand for the remaining 16 years of the ballot or the bond issue. So in addition to Kent Prairie and Eagle Creek, this will also have a major effect on the Stilley Valley Learning Center and Apple ECAP, primarily the ability to access school buildings starting the end of the school day and the paving, because this would reconfigure the entire parking area around that space as well. Well, we've shown images in the past. We're going to do that again November 2nd at open house at Post Middle School and provide an opportunity to engage with the community about the vision for the site. So I don't have any more for you tonight except an opportunity to answer the questions you might have.
So we're not deciding tonight if we're putting this on the ballot.
Yes.
Oh, we are doing that.
That's
Okay,
actually-
that's what I thought. I was just checking.
You can see this is proposition number 3. Proposition number 2 is a capital levy.
Gotcha.
Proposition number 1 is the P&L levy.
Any questions from our student advisors about both middle school? All right. This is an action item. Do we have a motion to approve resolution 2314 bonds to construct a new post middle?
I make a motion, we approve resolution 2314 for a bond to build a new post-middle school.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2314, bonds to construct a new post middle school. Madam Clerk. Director Kelly.
Aye.
President Vivek. Aye. Director Nat.
Quick question. Brian, is the city of Arlington posting that November 2nd community opportunity in their
The
weekly
email.
flyer?
I'm going to turn to Gary.
It's been sent, Pete Shar, and put on social media. I can reach out and have them include that as well.
Please do. Yep.
Yeah.
Because this is a community. The other part I'm thinking is that there are, I know the football kids are up there because I walk my dog every day, so I see the football people who aren't necessarily like it's Arlington, whatever that is. I don't know. But there are many, many community members that make use of our public school facilities. And however that is paid for, I don't understand. I don't know. That's not as relevant. The relevance is this is available in our community. So when we go to put this thing on the ballot, I would like to know our communities understand the importance. It's not just my kid doesn't go to post middle school. But as a community, it's a facility that's available to you.
Yeah.
So I definitely would make sure that Arlington puts that on and we invite anyone and everyone that can come and be because they're all decision makers, they're all constituents, and we need to pass it super majority.
Yeah, I work with the city. They're gonna be including in their e-clippings and they'll be sharing on social media as well to reach.
Great,
outside
Mass
families,
audience, yeah.
More community members.
sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up on our new business portion of our meeting is our board policies. We've got several. We're just gonna do 6, 12, I don't know. There's a bunch. The first one is policy 1400, meeting conduct, order of business and forum. And then we have 1610, conflict of interest, and 4299, civility, and 5161, civility in the workplace. 5254, staff expression, and 5521, teacher assistance program. Dr. Sweeting, I know you're handling the first two.
I'm first. So the first policy is 1400, and the change here, it's towards the end of the policy. There's a new law that was approved by the legislature, House Bill 1210. And that House Bill requires that beginning June 30, 2024, that any regular or special meeting of the board that is where final action is going to be taken or formal the formal action, then there needs to be an opportunity for public comment to happen. And right now, currently, and it has to be recorded. So if we're going to do public comment or take action, it needs to be recorded. So right now, we always record our regular meetings, so we meet that standard. But if in our, like this meeting, we had our study session starting at 4 o'clock. And we did not record those. We aren't recording our study sessions. However, if we were going to take action, we would actually publicize that in advance, but we'd also publicize that it would be recorded. So if we're going to take final action or have public comment at a study session or something outside of regular, we would need to record. And so this is just adding that language, and also the policy news that came out in July that talks about this new law that has been passed. So this is first reading. Don't need to approve it tonight, but it'll come to you for second reading at the next board meeting, regular board meeting. Questions about that one? The next one is also a change in law. This is the conflict of interest for board members. And so this particular policy 1610 talks about that board members have to be careful, and they can enter into services or situations where there could have been services that were no more than 1,500. Well, there's been a new trying to see what that was. I think it is. The House bill that this came from. But I can bring that for second read, but there's a House bill that changed the threshold to 3,000.
Okay.
So that's the only difference in this, so.
All right, thank you. Any questions about those two policies or any changes in the state? Next up is Eric Dion. You want to come on up and he's gonna bring us 42.99, 51.61, 52.54, and 55.21.
So Eric, before you start, the House bill that that increased it 50,000, this House bill 1577.
Lot of math tonight.
Yes.
Go back.
So we have 2 going away and 2 coming in. So that's nice. This one is actually gonna be replaced. This is a policy we've had in place for quite some time. It was a district, I think we maybe developed it locally, but now there's actually a WASDA recommended policy that covers kind of the same territory, but it's more specific, and so we're gonna go with that one instead. So this one's gonna be retired. So that's 42.99. This is the one that would replace it here.
Okay.
And again, it kind of covers the same topics, but it again is more specific, which is helpful. What we expect and then what we also see as uncivil conduct. And so then, gives some more specific.
I like that you're listed it there.
Yeah, the lists are better, I think, and
Yeah.
gives you some really clear cut things to look for, but not limited to those things, which I like that too.
So I have a question about this one, Eric. Does this apply to board meetings and people that are at work, or does this apply to students also? Everybody,
Everywhere.
all people everywhere.
Yeah. Anything on the school grounds, conduct business, those kind of things. And of course, there's other expectations for, students and staff specifically that are, this is a big umbrella, I would say, disability. That one. Go to the next one. So staff expression, this is one that is not it's a discretionary policy. This is one, there's been a lot of recent court cases on this that, and what are staff able to do, what constitutes, private speech versus public speech, and speech that can be regulated by the employer versus speech that cannot be regulated by the employer. And so this gives some, I guess, just broad guidelines to staff. It doesn't give a lot of specific necessarily because each situation is a little bit different, but there are some kind of overarching themes here and what employee can or can't do.
Does this cover clothing that you might wear?
Yeah, I guess in general, in broad strokes, it would. It doesn't say specifically what clothing you can wear or can't wear, but it talks about. So like within a classroom, employees' social media platforms, or remembering that while it's your personal private thing, but also if it reflects on the school district, people may not be able to separate you from the district if
Right.
you're in that.
Right, that role.
That's how they see you, yeah. So just being careful with this. But one of the main things is like, is it a matter of public concern or not a matter of public concern? That's a big thing. One of the tests that we would use to determine whether you can, if that speech is something that the district can hold you accountable for or discipline you for.
So it seems I'm really realizing too, it's a staff expression, so it's a little bit different for staff expression because you're employed, you're representing the school versus a student's expression.
Yeah, this is for staff.
Right.
Yes. Because you're operating under, you have that employee relationship, and so you're a lot of times people would expect you to be speaking for the district when you may not be speaking for the district.
Right, absolutely.
Anyone have any concerns or suggestions or changes they would like to add? This is first reading.
Yeah. And then the last one is another deletion, which is going away because the policy or the law, the regulation or whatever that governed this has been repealed, and so we're able to delete it.
Is there still some kind of teacher mentor program?
We do have a mentor program here, yeah. It's a local one that we do locally. We assign our new teachers and mentors every year.
Any changes to? Anybody want to keep this one around, even though we don't have it anymore?
When I get.
Thanks, Ray.
All right, that concludes the first readings of a lot of policies. Next up, our informational items. We'll start with our superintendent's report. Dr. Sweden.
So I wanted to read a couple of the thank yous from students that have received the scholarships. I am writing this letter to thank you for once again helping me pay for college. You have no idea how much it means to me. Last year, I made the decision to switch to a 5-year course plan as tuition costs were simply too much, and I needed a way to make it cheaper. While this has helped to bring my tuition costs down drastically, it does mean that I will have to go on an extra year to get my degree. I'm not thrilled about that, but I'm willing to accept it. I'm working right now to save up money for gas and other expenses for next year. Your scholarship means that I can save more of that money for emergencies or to pay off loans in the future. Once again, I am extremely grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much for this blessing of a scholarship that has allowed me to continue my education and pursue my basketball career further. While at Bethel College, I have been pursuing a bachelor's in business administration and a minor in coaching. Because of this donation, I was able to chase my dreams. Thank you for this gift and the opportunities it has brought me. I am sincerely grateful. And I'll read one more. I wanted to personally thank you for awarding me the scholarship. It means so much to me, and I will work hard to represent all that this person stood for. It is truly an honor to have even been considered for this scholarship, and it is greatly appreciated. So on behalf of my family and myself, I would like to say one more thank you. We hope you have a wonderful day and future as well. Sincerely.
Just smiling.
Yes. a smiley face. So those are some thank you notes. I'm trying to make it all the way through. I've got, I'll finish these for the McGuire scholarship, and then I'm going to do some payroll deduction scholarship thank yous. And I will officially say that the board has been selected as a board of distinction for the 5th year in a row. And what this really means is that we're not perfect, but we are distinguished in that we do look at the standards, and we are dedicated to aligning our actions to those standards. And we had to present evidence and exhibits on our actions to those standards. And there was a couple standards that they selected that we had to present evidence. And so we presented that evidence, and then we were honored to receive this. And we will be actually further honored at the conference coming up in November. So that's good news. Next week is the elementary conferences, so all week, and they'll get that. Then the following week after that, on a Thursday or Wednesday will be the 8th is the middle school conferences, and then on Thursday the 9th it'll be the high school conferences. I think that's it.
And no school on the 10th.
And no school on the 10th.
Next up is our legislative update and discussion. Sherry.
Not much to update, just that I attended meetings, I think it was 2 weeks ago or something. I attended them with Melissa in Olympia. So just looking forward to Mary and I had a nice connection because we there's a little snafu there with legislative priorities, but we came together and figured that out and solved that problem. So yeah, we just were what was interesting to me was the conversation we had as a sort of a legislative body as WASDA, presenting what our priorities are. That group decided, overall what mattered, but you still have to understand it's really up to the legislature to make those things become a reality. So you have 200 some, proposals, you pare it down. We as a district pared it down to 10, and of those 10, then WASDA takes all those priorities from all the districts across the state, and then we put that forward. And we still round it out to about our top 5 or top 3. And so I think it's really important that we have more power when we come to consensus. So if it's free meals, if it's eliminating the supermajority for funds for passing what schools need in terms of buildings, that's kind of what we want to do. So I'm looking forward to going to that session in November and just, meeting with other school boards and finding where we're like-minded and then presenting that united front when it comes to Down the Hill in February. But yeah, other than that, everything is good. Looking forward to, I think we're having our November 2nd, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
I know we have Clyde Shavers, who's like a friend of ours, so I'm excited to see him. And I will be in attendance. I don't know if we have any other, Dave, Paul, maybe, or I don't know. Dave will be there.
6 o'clock at, it's a combined meeting between the ACE committee and the Budget Advisory Task Force. So from 6 to 6:30, we're gonna gain some more knowledge and information, and then we're gonna take a tour, a very descriptive, fun tour.
And I heard there's some questions afterward, like
Yeah,
it'll be
we're
a
doing-
game on Planet the Treasure Hunt.
Yes, we are gonna do it. We are gonna
Something.
do that.
It'll be fun. So anyway, I'm looking forward to supporting and I just, my recommendation is for anyone and everyone to talk to our community members, because it isn't us just making those phone calls in January saying, vote yes on this. We need the conversation in our community to change. And we need them to understand we owe this to these children. It's well past time. And I'm working with someone over in Lakewood right now who's like, oh my goodness, yes, post-middle school, why would, my kid, I went there. Sue Kraus went there. So we know people live in our community that have attended this school, and passing it off this and saying it was good enough. Good enough now. We can't keep up on a technology level alone, not to mention the air conditioning and the wires hanging down, and Leslie deserves better and the kids deserve better. So just continue that conversation with our community. That's what I say. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Do our student advisors have anything they would like to share? Nathan?
Yeah, recently, time is flying by at points in my life, and I had the opportunity to kind of take a step back last night and kind of reevaluate where I am and where I want to be. And more than anything, I just have a lot of gratitude for my community and my family, my peers especially, trying to push me in the right directions, as well as trying to push me away from the wrong directions. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to listen in and kind of get a sense of what happens in the community, and that can only be furthered by our members. So I just want to say thank you for all the parents, all the staff members for your time. Thank you to the board. I'm very excited. It's exciting times. The world's changing, and I'm glad I get to be a part of it.
Mariska?
I'm gonna have to agree with the fact that time is moving very fast. It's sort of like kicking me off from under my feet, but I'm just kind of rolling with the punches and taking it as we go along, just taking a breather and whatnot. I don't think I have any updates per se, but I would like to say thank you to each and every one of the family members and just staff members that came here tonight to speak to the board. It takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of the board and speak their mind. So thank you to everybody that was here. Other than that, I don't think that I have anything else to say, so I'm just gonna keep rolling with the punches.
Thank you, Mariska. Sherry, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I will tell you, it's all in your perspective, because I'm a teacher and it is not going very fast. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you can fit 2 weeks worth of whatever into 1 week. I come into the weekend, it's exhausting. So happy you're having that side. I'm not on that side of the fence at all. But I am in a place where I have been moved to a new building, and I am grateful for the tutelage that someone has taken me under their wing. And I was resistant to that change, I will admit. But I feel like no matter what happens next school year, I'm going to come out stronger, and I'm learning a ton. And I think they appreciate my enthusiasm and willingness to learn. So tip to the young ones, be a lifelong learner. It will serve you well.
Thank you. And Director Knapp?
Sure. I would echo Mariska and Nathan and just thanking everyone who came here tonight. It really is valuable and I love, greeting everyone as y'all were coming in and it just hearing that really does help make connections for us. So, or for myself, I guess. And also thinking about, I didn't really plan to say anything. I never really know what I'm gonna say at the end of the meeting. So, just looking at the data that we were looking at, thinking about conferences coming up, report cards are coming out, we're getting grades. And I know it can be a real mixed bag for some people, especially with data numbers the way they are. And I think it's just a good reminder, like Carrie said, that, data does not define the students or our community and grades do not define a person. And so, I guess that was just like the common theme in my head as we're wrapping up this meeting is to look beyond the numbers. So it's important to see the data and, it creates a whole picture, but coming back to it at the end of the day, who's sitting around your dinner table?
More than numbers. Thank you for sharing. I wanted to share that I echo that same sentiment, that I am grateful for all of our staff that step up every day, and especially people that are brave enough to speak up and advocate for what they believe in. It does help us make better decisions and to come to a consensus, and I hope that they know that we appreciate them and respect them and care for them and want to do right by them. One thing that stood out to me tonight that I'm just stuck on is all of that, when we were in our study session earlier this afternoon, and we learned about how many students are having emotional needs. And one of the numbers was the counselor reported all of the different students and all their different needs, and the highest need for that 1 month of reporting was emotional assistance. And there was 18 students in 1 month that were needing an emotional assistance. And we have one counselor 1 day a week for 5 students. And it just breaks my heart that we have so much need for help and we don't have help available for kids that need it. And so I'm feeling all the emotions. I am absolutely blown away by the amount of awesome, good education and learning and hard work and empathy and kindness and goodness in our community, and how much positive, good energy. And I just want to keep focusing on what more we can do to help all of our students that are struggling, to help lift them up and make them better. And I feel real positive about the direction we're taking as a board with our votes tonight on our resolutions and what we're bringing to the voters. And I'm just really hopeful and optimistic about what is going to happen for our kids in our community next. But they've been through some stuff, and I'm really hopeful that we can help continue to make it better for them. I was able to go and see some kids this last couple weeks, and they are amazing and smart and resilient and fun and joyful, and it is joyful to watch them learn. I was able to attend a visit to the Arlington High School with one of our elected officials, Dave Paul, who is just a fantastic dad of 4 kids and knows about schools and knows about band, and he was really interested in what our kids are learning and what they're struggling with and what's going on in our school buildings. And I was able to go to Student Voices at Camp Prairie, and they're so sweet and adorable and smart, and we have such a great community. We have such great kids. We have such great staff, and I'm just so filled with gratitude for the good, awesome people that we have the privilege of working with. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who spoke up tonight, and your voices matter. And I appreciate it.
And Mary, if I just add one thing too, so I will say that, yes, like my life as a teacher would be vastly different without paraeducators. They're absolutely critical.
So with that, I want to remind everybody that we have a meeting coming up. Again, we have them all the time. Our next meeting is our regular board meeting. It will be on Monday, November 13th at 6 p.m. right here in the boardroom and also on Zoom and YouTube. The next item on our agenda is our adjournment, unless there's anything else. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. Madam Clerk. Director Kelly.
Aye.
President Levesque. Aye. Director Hill. Aye. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Everybody drive safe.